fixing the falling standards in our schools and the conditions of work for our teachers is going to be the lone focus for tonight's edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime TV. Good evening, televiewers. We're glad to be back for this week. And as announced, we're going to be looking at the conditions of work of our teachers in our primary, secondary, and university institutions in Cameroon. But first, we're going to be asking the questions as to what is responsible for the falling standards in our educational system. We are discussing on this very important topic for the first edition of Prime Hour for this week, with panelists who are with me. Two of them are present now, while two others are caught in traffic. We hope they beat traffic to join us. We are in the company of Madam Telelen Mbunya Nzokwe, who is a mentor learner. Yes, that is the title. Yeah, the learning mentor. The learning mentor. We're glad to have you once again on Prime Hour. You've been away for so long.
Yeah, I was caught up with so many things, but I'm happy to be back.
And how has it been?
It's been great. As long as there is life, then there is everything else.
Okay.
Without life, nothing else works.
Okay. We also are in the company of Madam Bewamba Veronica Beze, who is a primary school teacher with one of the schools out here in the littoral region, Banga to be precise. She came all the way from Banga to be part of tonight's edition of Prime Hour. Glad to have you.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. Good evening, panelists. Good evening, viewers. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to talk about the fixing the standards of education and the working conditions of teachers.
We also expecting Mr. Elvis Tayong, who is a former teacher, to be part of us this night, and Mr. Neba Alexander, a head teacher who we are told is caught in traffic. And I'll start with you, Madam Nzokwe. Now, when you look at the standards of education across Cameroon today compared with what obtained when you were in school, it gives you reason to smile. What's a regret?
Well, I think it's a good reason to regret.
Okay.
When I look at just my mom, who left standard 6, and I look at myself, the things that she could do as a standard 6 leaver, I who left from class 7, I struggled to do them. Then when I look at my own children who go through class 6 now with all the facilities, well, I think there's so much to regret about.
Okay, a lot to regret, but what are the things that your mother or yourself could do that you think our people, students, yes, can't do?
The first thing is my mother has a lot of critical thinking skills. And the stories she told us often reflected problem-solving issues. And when I look at our time too, the issues in the books, the way the teachers handled us, build in us responsibility. But when I look at children today, we the parents of today, we want the teachers and the school to take responsibility instead of building responsibility. So it is not uncommon to find a class, an opposite boy or girl tell you they forgot their textbook at home because their home teacher did not come. So when I look at all of those things, I begin to wonder, because in my days, I don't even remember having a home. If I didn't even know what a home teacher was, I didn't know that when you leave school, you have to come home and then a teacher comes again. From primary, you were taught to do your homework and you knew the consequences. If you don't do it, you know what happens. There is no way your mother is going to call anybody to tell them you had this or that issue, that's why homework couldn't be done. As long as you don't do it, you yourself, you knew what awaited you. So you took measures between home and school to make sure that homework was done. When I went to secondary school, there was nothing like after school or repetition or whatever. You took responsibility. From your school fees to the learning process to buying of your books. I remember I had to leave Douala to Kumba. As small as I was, my father would give me my school fee and tells me, if the fees get missing on the way, then you stay on the way. So I had the responsibility to make sure that I stayed focused until I got to school. And in school, it was the same thing. There was no day my father appeared in school to find out why I was beaten or why I wasn't beaten. Things like that. So when I look at all of those, I begin to wonder why we, the parents who went through such, have decided to transfer the building of skills in our children to teachers or schools taking responsibility for our children.
Okay, Madam Bewamba, I don't know when you went to school. Has anything changed during your school days with what obtains today? You are a teacher today.
Yeah, Mr. Kum, a lot of things have changed in the system, and like Madam Telelen is saying, building skills in learners have greatly reduced. Now we depend on the teachers to help our children in everything. That's why you see today in the school milieu, after normal learning hours, parents want teachers to follow up their children back at home. Apart from that, they leave the sole responsibility to teachers to take care of everything that concerns their children. Building critical skills in children is the responsibility of both the school and the parents and even the community. But this is not done. When we go to our classroom, you see that the way teachers used to teach before has changed. There is a great change. So learners now depend solely on their teachers, so much so that they cannot take responsibility on their own. They are dependent. It's as we are trying to we are trying to build the learners without skills. Meanwhile, we have so many skills we can build in learners and allow them to be responsible. But this is not happening.
Yeah, but fundamentally, what has changed? Is it that the teachers are not well trained, or the fact that because we have more learning hours today?
Sure.
You are in school. After school, you have a teacher who is teaching you. You even have more subjects. How do we explain that? The more we put in on our children today, the less output we get from them.
The truth is that most teachers don't want to put in the work.
Okay.
Most teachers don't want to put in the work because they have their personal reasons. I don't know. There are teachers who want to depend on classes after school. They valorize money over the work, and other teachers don't have the skills to, because you cannot give what you don't know. So there is a problem at the level of training. Teachers go through the training, but the training seems not to pass through them so that they can actually deliver well. So there is this problem of proper training, first of all. When the system implements certain decisions, like the new curricula that was introduced, they should make sure that there is follow-up for teachers to gain skills on this critical thinking. They should gain skills on creativity. They should gain skills on digital literacy, so that they can as well impact learners with these skills.
Okay. Now, can we say that if you're raising an issue with the quality of the teachers, can we say that in the past we had more teachers who consider the teaching profession as a core, that's a vocation, compared with what many persons are doing today as last resort, out of desperation?
In the days, teachers were devoted. Teachers went in because they have that zeal for the vocation. But today, because of lack of jobs, many people get into the teaching profession as a last resort. They want to make ends meet, not as if they had passion for the teaching. And that becomes a problem in the field when you don't have that passion. Coupled with the fact that teachers are not well motivated. When they get into the field and they discover that the motivation, what they earn, cannot permit them to sustain their lives, they tend to begin to do other things which, at the end of the day, they are unable to meet up, thereby reducing the creativity they can offer to the children, thereby limiting themselves.
Okay, they're limiting themselves. Madam Telelen, how do we explain this situation of pupils and students? Is it also that the teachers themselves worry very little about the output of the students? That is the grading equation, where a teacher in the past would actually want to see a child acquire certain skills, knowledge, and capacity before they move on to the next class. That is, they are sure of whom they are sending forth, compared to what obtains today.
Mr. Leo, all what you're saying to me is just the consequence of something else.
Okay.
Because why will a teacher not be interested in a child's performance or in the output of a child? We will need to find out why. Something must have happened or something is happening. Like the other panelist just said, teachers are not well trained, teachers lack motivation, teachers. But what is the cause of all of this? That's what we should be looking at. That's what I want to look at. The first thing is, I remember when I was going to Form 1, we were called up in the office to sign for some money. And we were told it's because we passed in list A and we didn't go to a government college. So we had to take that because the government was giving that to support our learning in school. Now, I grew up to understand that schools used to receive subvention support from the government because it's the government's responsibility. But from when the government reduced or annulled those subventions, school became a business. Now, if I'm doing business, automatically I need to make profit. And the only way to make profit is to give my clients satisfaction. And the only way to give clients satisfaction is to do what they ask for. So you find in a school, a parent comes to tell the school authority, I don't want this teacher in my child's class. So what are we left to do as teachers? We are bound to satisfy parents. And how do you satisfy them and meet the objectives? Those are two opposites. This parent is not happy when I shout at the child, okay, so I will not shout at the child. And because I want to keep my job, if I say this thing is wrong, the child will go home and tell the parent is going to tell the administration is going to call me, the administration is going to sanction me. And so because of that, most teachers just operate like puppets under remote controls. So they are not left to say the right thing, to do the right thing, and to pass the right judgment. So it is just normal that at the end of the day, the parent who succeeds to influence the teacher the most has the great mark for their child, not necessarily because that child was the smartest. And nowadays that wasn't the case. Like I said, I went to Form 1 through opposite. There was no day my dad came to school. I traveled all alone with my trunk and everything to a boarding school, cried the first month. There was no phone to even begin with that. You're going to call your parents. Today you are in a WhatsApp group with parents, and the school puts an announcement. I mean, my son was in Form 5, so we're in the Form 5 and opposite examination class, and the school gives an announcement like, any child who has not paid for the mock will not take the mock result, mock exams. And then a parent will come up to say, no, you can't say that. You ought to remind us because you ought to know that we are parents and we are busy. And I'm like, so teachers are not parents. They are not busy. They are there to do what children are supposed to do. In my days, I tell my children all the time, if my father didn't pay school fees on time, I was beaten, so that I should take the responsibility to remind my parents that something is due in school. If I lose an exercise book, a pen, I was beaten. So the next time, I remembered to sit up, get my father to buy me a pen or a book before I come home, before I get back to school. So when I look at all of that, Mr. Leo, I said even before we start talking about the teachers and their performance, a lot has been taken off the responsibility of teachers, which was the responsibility of teachers of those days. In those days, in fact, when a parent met with your class teacher, you were in trouble. Because anywhere, anytime, the teacher had authority over you. And the teacher's word was law. But nowadays, it's not uncommon for a parent to tell the child, if I catch that your teacher, if I see that your teacher, if I match to that your school, what do you expect, Mr. Leo? I just have to keep my bread as a teacher and just give the parents what they want to hear and tell the school authorities to what will please them so they can keep me.
Okay. You guys seemingly are blaming parents for the falling standards in what we observe in our schools. We have just been joined by Elvis Tayong, who is the Undersecretary for Communication for the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, but he's sitting in here today as a former teacher. He's been in the field for some years. But far, are you also worried with the standards we churn out today from our respective institutions, from the primary to university levels?
Thank you very much. I think I'm very worried, and just like any other teacher will be worried, maybe as one of those who anticipated retirement was because of what we saw. That was not so pleasing to our eyes because one, I was teaching and realized that the dignity of a teacher had been dragged to the mud, and the powers that be were not doing anything possible to maintain that dignity of a teacher. So I had to divert from teaching over to journalism. You realize that we had several instances in school. You have the child of a brigade commander, you have a child of a commissioner, you have a child even of a police constable. You don't clown with them, you know, because they will simply come there. And what was even annoying is that the administrative authorities knew these persons, knew these personalities, and so they will always dance to their favor against the wish of the teacher and against what is supposed to be put in place. So at the end of it, the scenario that was on ground was not the best. I think last year we had a scenario whereby a brigade commander in one of the schools in the far north region arrived at the school and got the teacher well beaten under the watchful eyes of the other school administrators because the child was disciplined for coming late, you know. And bad in it is that the school authorities, from hierarchy of delegates and all like, they are always lukewarm. That's even the bad thing, because if you have a situation whereby a parent moves somewhere and attack a teacher, and then probably the top administrative official from the regional delegate, divisional delegate take action, you know, it will be protecting the teachers more. But on the other hand, sometimes they sit as if their hands are tied. I think it is a call for concern because from what we have been witnessing, the standards have every reasons to drop. Now, look at it, Mr. Liu. How do you explain to me that, you know, if you go to Ghana, they hold teachers at high esteem. I mean, just Ghana here, where you realize that the government gives all it takes to protect teachers from start to finish, because sometimes even Akufo himself, the president of Ghana, keeps telling you that he himself is dead because of a teacher today. But at the end of it, when you look at our own, how do you explain that a police constable has advantages, state advantages than a teacher? How do you explain? That's somebody equivalent with the first school leaving certificate, even if he might go in maybe with the first school where he has an A-level, O-level, but on the ground, on the paper, it shows he has first school. Many of them, if you look at their qualifications compared to that of teachers, is far below, but they have advantages. You start asking yourself, are we even really serious? Of recent, even, you know, the OTAs or the OTT, those guys who are even eradicating, for how long have they been eradicating? But the worst of it is that you find the ministry self-concerned, the tuteless ministry, they spend time buying cars, worth hundreds of millions. You start asking yourself, is this not a kangaroo system of the highest order, that your own ministerial department cannot even protect you to the latter? I mean, you start asking yourself, where are we heading to? Bees have advantages that teachers don't have, gendarmes have, customs they have, and all the like. You start asking yourself, but where are we heading to? So the standards by every indication has a reason to drop, because the government behaves as if they are coming from a different planet and teachers are just there the way they are. So begin to look at the situation and start asking yourself, but where did we go wrong as teachers to receive this kind of humiliating treatment that you find day in, day out? You have your allowances due. You go on retirement, they start telling you, no, you have to compile these documents, as if they were paying a ghost worker. You start asking yourself, but how were they paying me that now I'm on retirement? They said, no, compile this for National Social Insurance Fund, bring this document up and down. Before your allowances even start coming, that you are due is another assignment on its own. It's all satanic. But I think that above all, Mr. Liu, we could say parents, we could say this and that, but the kangaroo system in Yaoundé is the cause of all these jigsaw puzzles we find in the educational system.
I'm not sure of the government tells teachers not to.
No. This is the problem.
Is the government asking parents to go? This
is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yaoundé regime fails on arrival. Mr. Liu, you would bear with me.
Is the regime asking?
The regime fails. I'm coming.
But in the past,
it's not about parents, Mr. Liu.
Yeah.
I am holding to the Yaoundé regime responsible. For now, as I'm talking, they should listen very well. You cannot tell me that you take education and politicize it. That is, people pay to have their books into book list. After 2 years it's changed. 2 years it's changed. What kind of academics is this, Mr. Liu? That there's a whole, they're watching those in the education and the book commission. They know what I'm talking about. That is a mafia organization. I put my book in the book list. After making millions for 3 years, before I even get the books there, I have to go through some gymnastics of money here, money there. 2-3 years before teachers become acquainted with the text itself, that they can be dishing out to the teacher, to the students. Those who are leaving ENS, by the time they want to come in, the books have changed. You keep learning new things. Remember, Mr. Leo, we had Changa Enoma.
Yes.
In those days, that book, it took more than 20 years to 25 years. Changa Enoma. One is Pinocchio talking cricket. Yeah. These are books that you could imagine. Suzanne and Mary, Joseph, and you can imagine. These are books that if you look at it, pictures were very few in class 1.
Which one is Suzanne and Mary?
Yeah, those were the names in the book.
Those were the English books were books.
Suzanne's new
So
I remember Suzanne's new dress.
Now look at it. It's from there I even knew that they could call an engine a bonnet. Yeah. Because those are things that you look at a class 3 reader, it's more of reading, not pictures. Yeah. It's different from today that you find more of pictures that children learn, but more on pictures. So class 1, you were sure to start going boys, girls, and all the like. But the most important point is that these books stayed on the book list for a longer period of time. Teachers had all it takes to acquaint themselves with the material and take their time to dish it out. I don't know the kind of magic. You come to lower seat, textbooks are changing every day. From 5, they are changing overnight. From 2, literature, from 3, and all the like. You start asking yourself, but where do we go wrong? And at the end of it, it is a business venture that those who man this country have transformed the educational system. That is why you realize that most political pundits will tell you that we are supposed to overhaul the entire educational system. You cannot tell me you have a polytechnic, you have a professional institute, and children come out, common application for job, Mr. Leo. You are here, go through your application, children have applied as journalists to work in your enterprise. Look at the grammar. Look at the format of it. You start asking, and the worst of it, I have even most of them master students.
But here,
it's a call for concern.
Who do you blame? Because
we blame the curriculum, Mr. Leo. Yeah. Because when you, the government, everything starts from the curriculum. We are talking about parents like that. What is the curriculum you have given us, and how long do we maintain that curriculum? If you put a curriculum that is shallow, after 2-3 years you are changing. The next time we hear MCQ, the next time we are hearing MC2 for universities, you start changing levels. At the end, when do the lecturers, the professors, the teachers take time to master a particular system? It is a business venture that the government is toiling with.
Yeah, but is that not also the bigger problem where almost everybody in applying to government that are creating a primary school, a secondary school, the essence is that I want to mold minds, but it is more of a business where most of the service providers in the educational sector seek more of what comes into their pockets than the holistic building or construction of the minds of these kids.
That's Mr. Liu. That's why I said from the time when the government failed to take responsibility in educating the citizens and allowed private individuals to step in, it became a business. Because when I put in money, I need to make a profit.
Was it not a government move to rather help people? Because the complaint was that anything that was handled by the government was not serious. Now private individuals were going to do it better, far better than what government offered.
That was it. But Mr. Liu, when you make it a money-making system, then it's no longer education. If the government, it's like you, a father of a home, you want to give responsibility to your son in your absence. You need to have measures to check what the son is doing. So you wouldn't let your 16-year-old boy represent you by bringing all his friends into your bedroom. It doesn't happen that way. There should be strict rules and regulations to guide the system. And these are the things that we're talking about. How do you guide me? How do you control me when you don't support me? I can't put 10 million to run a primary school. You don't give me a franc. You don't pay my teachers. You don't build a school. You don't give me a desk. And you want to tell me how I should pay the teachers. You want to tell me which textbook I should use. No, I need to go for what I will do to make profit. So that's why I am saying that, to me, from when education became business, everything failed. And like the other panelist was saying, when you look at the books, if they could even change these books after 2 years to go for better books, one would understand. But you will get a book on ICT telling you software engineering is a study of the hard parts, the outer parts of a computer. How can software engineering? The day I saw that thing in a book, since I'm a learning mentor, I had to call the teacher. I said, did you see this? I said, okay, let us call the IT teacher and let me find out. Maybe I'm making a mistake. When they talk about software, it means the things that you don't see. So how can a textbook validated by the government? I don't want to call the name of that textbook, but it's embarrassing. Then you go in there, you see all sorts of things. You will see things like types of soap, savon soap, Tico soap, cocoa soap. What? Then you begin to question yourself. Yeah, what do you mean by types of soap, savon soap? What is savon soap? You just see that there is no rubric to check out the efficiency of what we validate to give to teachers. And teachers, on the other hand, like we already said, if we are not valorized, if we have no security, economic security, financial security, it's not uncommon in big cities like Douala to see a teacher who has served in a school for 15 years just been thrown out one day for nothing because they're working in the private sector, simply because they dare to ask that I've been working for 15 years, the school has grown, please can something be done to my salary? That's good enough for him to be thrown out. Now where does he go? With his wife and children? It's normal that we keep what we know, the little we know, to go for private classes in homes where we can take 2 or 3 children after school to see how we can also get our kids to eat. So, Mr. Leo, I think it's just an overhauling of the system, like the other panelists said. It's just so pathetic.
Overhauling of the system, but can we not also see the age of the age factor of most of these kids that are going to school today? Because you said, okay, yeah, is it your mother? Standard 6 could also understand, and the output was better, far better than what obtains today. Was it not also because we went to school at an advanced age where we could easily understand what we were handed down by our teachers? I want us to look at the age factor here.
Yeah, the age factor also has a very key role to play in the lives of children today. Children of today, if you look at what is written on paper, they say the child of class 1 should be in school at 6 years old. But that is not the case. We have, in some schools, we have children in class 1 who have 4 years, who are not even up to 6 years old. And then you look at the bulk of work for the age of that child. It is not proportionate. So it becomes a problem. Looking at all the subjects that a 6 years old child needs to take, and what that child needs to give us, the result, the feedback, it becomes very heavy for the child. So even the age has a greater role to play in the academic achievement of children.
Yeah, Mr. Leo, and it boils down back to business. The government school still takes 6 years old. If you're not 6 years old, you don't get into a government primary school. But we are private people. What do you expect? I need customers because I don't see them as students. I own a school. I see my customers. So if a child comes at 1, that's why you go to most nurseries now. You see children 1 year old still struggling with the bottle, but they tell you, no, it's a daycare. And after 2 years, the parents are like, so this child has stayed so long that they just think that the child has been in school for 2 years. No, he probably failed like Nancy, so he can no longer do nursery 2 because he's been there for the past 2 years. And by that time, the child is just 3. So the child is moving from 3 years old to nursery 2 when they are actually supposed to be relating with sounds and blending the sounds. Now, when you look at even the developmental schema of the human being, at 3, this child's pencil grip is not ready for writing. But the parents will say, no, the teacher is not good, it's the school, and they go to the office. So what would the teacher do? You find teachers holding the hands of the children, and they are writing, and they think that the child is writing. So it's not uncommon to find children in class 4 nowadays who can't even write 10 sentences without a lot of push or encouragement from the teachers. So what do we expect at the end?
Class 4?
Yeah.
Can they really write sentences in that class, going by what we observed today?
Why not?
Okay.
They should be able to write
sentences. They should be, but when you look at the kids that are in class 4 today,
at 7, most of them can't. Most of them still struggle writing.
Even in the secondary school, you go to Form 1, you see students who are unable to write well. Talk less of reading. It is
8 years old in Form 1.
Yeah, but now let me just take this. Good evening, sir, and the 2 boss ladies and the kangaroo man in the studio. The falling standards in our schools today, from primary to the university, is due to the fact that the state does not pay the teachers well to do their job. So there is a lot of laxity, and they don't do their job well. Teachers are not devoted because some go in for teaching out of frustration.
Like I said.
Parents, on their part, don't follow up their kids or even care to know the teacher handling their children. Children threaten teachers and go as far as stabbing some to death. Children having in mind that they will be given answers in the end of the course exams. The issue of collective promotion, please, Kangaroo Man, is not only the government that should be blamed. Even if the curriculum is shallow, everyone needs to blame. Yvonne Berlin is watching from Bankim. Yes, the head teacher is here. We're glad you joined us. Let's look at this collective promotion issue. How does it obtain? You are a head teacher. It is I don't know, it's appalling that we have kids who are in secondary school who cannot read, who cannot write, yet you guys promoted them. How do we explain this?
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Thank you, dear panelists, and good evening, everyone, viewers. Yes, Mr. Leonard, it's really a situation that is really disturbing around. When we see the issue of collective promotion, people go a long way to take it in another form. That is, they don't really understand what collective promotion is. And it has turned the whole situation around, making pupils to be promoted anyhow. And we have these problems where we face kids who cannot read, who cannot even write in some classes. Now, when we talk of collective promotion, what is it really? We promote, when we talk of collective promotion, you see that our system is shared in 3 levels. We have level 1, we have level 2, we have level 3. It is appalling to see a child who leave class 1 and the parents will insist, as one of the panelists were saying, to promote that child to maybe class 3. That child has left from one level to another, which is practically wrong. So collective promotion, to me, I think it is something that the government really has to look again into it, because it is true that it is promoting people from one level to another. A child who is not able to read in class 2 should not be promoted to class 3 in the name of collective promotion. No, because at that level, that child has not acquired all the necessary skills to go to the next class. So collective promotion, I think the issue behind collective promotion is the misconception behind it, and it is causing a lot of problems in our educational system.
Yeah, but you are a head teacher. How do you also appreciate this issue of underaged pupils who must move up to the extent of getting into secondary schools even when they cannot really understand what they are doing, especially the fact that they have so many subjects to handle per class today? Because I'm sure in our days we had maybe 8 subjects, 7, but how many are these guys doing today? I see my child's.
We have about qualitative studies than quantitative. They have quantitative than qualitative studies.
Yeah, but how do you appreciate it? Are you guys also helpless? Can't you also make proposals to government that these children are too young to grapple with all of what we are giving them?
Okay, Mr. Leonard, at this level, the government does not come in again. Okay. Like our sister earlier said, you know, at the private sector, they have conceived that education is most of business than how can I put it? Building minds. Because normally when you go in for education, you have to understand that it is a non-profitable business. You are not going in there to make profit. But nowadays, most of our proprietors have taken it to be a profit-making issue. So you will not tell me that as a head teacher, you have organized and at the end of your class council, you bring out the list of people and you tell your proprietor, these are the results and this number of people to repeat. The proprietor will tell you, young man, you are not really working. And if you play my parents go, you will be sacked. Yeah. So at times, we are forced to please our proprietors, which is really wrong, and it is really affecting the educational system than educationists. So that is a problem.
Okay, let me come in there with this issue of collective promotion. You know, I had the privilege of working with what we call international schools. I've worked with American schools, worked with most of the British schools. A collective promotion is a good venture if it is understood. Okay. That's why if most of our friends who move to a place like Canada, when you call them, they'll tell you, oh, they put my child back in class 2, because learners are supposed to learn in their age group. Sure. They're supposed to be in their age group. Sure. But now in that age group, Where I would say there is a problem is that the government does not prepare the teachers on how to manage collective promotion. I have my younger sister, the son is in 7th grade in the United States, but he tells you, I'm in 7th grade, but I'm doing 9th grade math. Why? Because in mathematics, he's advanced. So he sits with his age group, but there is what is called differentiation. That is what the government ought to educate the schools on. But when we go for seminars, it's unfortunate that in this French-speaking Cameroon, we have to do those seminars in French, and then we have to struggle to understand it by ourselves. There's no one who actually breaks it down to the teachers. So collective promotion is something that's in a simple way, I can say it is based on Lev Vygotsky's zone of proximal development, where learning is put in stages. So at the beginning of the year, this is where all the learners are. At the end of the year, this is where I want all of them to be. But now, along the line, we should be able to map out where each learner is. And this cannot be done without training. Now, because education has been commercialized, private sectors prefer to employ people whom they can debate salary with and pay. So you have in the foundational level, that is the nursery, the class ones, where education is the foundation, where it demands a lot. That's where you have them taking people who have failed the O levels 3 times because they will propose 30,000 francs as a salary, and they will take. But on the contrary, if you look at this building, Mr. Leo, we are upstairs. If the foundation is not solid, we're all going to go down. So on the contrary, we're supposed to be having well-qualified people to lay this foundation so that they can give accurate reporting. Like in these other schools where I worked before becoming a learning mentor, the report goes something like, Tom is very apt in building sounds, but he struggles with figures. So that the next teacher, that's collective promotion, the next teacher knows where his challenges are. But for us, what do? Tom has 15 in English on 20, has 1 in maths. They put 2 together and they say he has 16 on 40, and they say he has failed. That doesn't make sense. What did he fail? Where does he need help? So it comes back to what I was saying, Mr. Liu. Until the government takes responsibility as the parent, as the overseer of education, and do that which they're supposed to do, so that they can have an influence into checking out what is actually going on, educational standards are going to go lower than what we have now.
Now, I want us to look at this, both of you, to talk on the aspect of discipline. In our days, the level of discipline and what obtains today, could that also have an impact on what we are discussing today?
Obviously, it has. It has, because, you know, just seeing a teacher holding a whip, by virtue of seeing holding a whip, I understand some of us who were for morning classes, you dare miss morning classes, 5 minutes late is operation laying. You imagine in the morning in Bamenda where it's too cold and chilly, the worst is during the dry season. And then sometimes you will get a ruler and then you put your hand like that, you know, with the ruler behind, you know. Now, the human rights, funny things they say, has come in and destroyed that foundation, which is our cultural values, because we could learn the hard way. And most of us knew that was the only way we could learn. Yes. You could imagine that your parents just coming to school to report that 55 is missing at home. It was a problem. You know, the big boys will hold you, lift you up. Your boot ups 12. Oh my God, you just that trouble has come. But now, when the things of human rights has come, is going up, is coming down. Now, all of these things that have made children now, you just by touching a child, you know, the child just need to go and tell the parents. The next day, you have it hot. It is your head teacher, your principal who even start with you already. That no, how can you touch somebody's child? So at the end of it, the discipline aspect has a lot of has played a negative role, and that stemmed from even back home, you know, because I will tell you that you have children that they are born, they grow, and they have never been touched by their parents. You know, they only shout they only shout in a superficial manner. But our own, just by playing football and seeing your father, hearing him at a distance with his own motorcycle.
It didn't have to be your father, even your
father's friend.
Discipline was community.
I mean, he could get you well beaten, and when your father comes and hears again, he adds the beating again.
Yes,
you know.
That's how
but you know, today so I think modernity has changed many things that I see it not too good. And the worst of it is that the state is also taking part in it, because, as I said, most of the teachers that have been molested by state or by parents to state that's children who belong to state authorities. The school has not ever done anything, neither has state authorities equally come to rescue the teachers. So it has been that teachers just sit and say, okay, I'm a first now affair. And took as a shit and come on a jam. So at the end of it, Even when they see a child going wayward, that spirit of discipline a child has because you can want to discipline a child and you carry trouble on your head, whereas you are doing more good to the child. And so sometimes even the children themselves, they underlook you as a teacher. Because, you know, sometimes the parents at home will tell you that, hey, if that child, he tanked him, if I'm a something. So the child looks at you teaching in school class, just said, this one paper teacher this. Yes. So there's a lot that goes through in terms of discipline. And that's why I said that we need to revisit the entire system. When you see, even at a point in time, this is, I said the whole thing boils down from the Ministry of Secondary Education. I could not believe that they still keep pregnant children in school. How could it? We were aware, that is, the female children were aware that the least I have pregnancy is dismissal. They don't debate with that. The moment they just hear you are pregnant, they do a test and show that you are even 2 weeks pregnant, you are dismissed openly, publicly in school. Yeah. But now you imagine that the minister comes in, changes that, and tells you no, pregnant should be allowed to, when they are due pregnancy, when they are due delivery, you allow them to go out. Once they finish delivering, they come back to school. What kind of system do we have? That's why I said that why the parents fail in their shortcomings. But as I said, the main system is that when a government mechanism is put in place, it helps to shape the entire system that flows. Yes. But once the government mechanism is kangaroo inclined, because man is born free but everywhere is in chain. What does it mean? The philosopher tells you that it means man is supposed to live, man lives under the influence of law. Because if law is not there, I know that I can slap madam, case goes to nowhere. Just because I have power and she does not have power, I give dirty slap. But when I know that there are consequences, if I slap her or I box the headmaster or whatever, I'll have to go in for it. It keeps me already on the know that, hey, these are my limits of whatever actions I take. So that's why I say that we could blow grammar from morning to night. But the day we have a good government structural system for education, that they revamp the system, overhaul it, and put in place principles that will help impact the main modus operandi for education, you will just see it flowing, because you need not be told. If you as a teacher, you need not be told. Yeah. You need to understand that. How do you explain that somebody who has one O level is teaching class 6? That's it. How do you explain that? How do you explain? But then the proprietor does that because he thinks that this one is cheap labor. Yes. The moment you want to say you are coming from teachers training, he said no. The worst is if you are a degree holder. He said, "You one can't teach me." They say, "No, work past me." They're already thinking. That's why you see, for them, the host tell you is 1 year contract, renewable. Yes. So the moment you falter a bit, when you are reapplying, they just say no. Say si vont nous déranger, il faut les mettre à côté, il faut les mettre à côté. Why? Because they know that there's always already cheap labor, and this cheap labor is what helps to bring down the educational system. Yeah. Because a moment a teacher is already mastering class 6, 2, 3, 4 years, and is producing results. The moment he starts telling you, please, I think you should increase my salary, then you are thinking of laying him off to look for someone who come and take half of the salary he is demanding. Because you are thinking of making money. The worst of it in the kangaroo system is what the so-called inspectors. Those are zero. Because in real terms, you think of the early 60s, 70s, and late 70s. When you hear that inspector of education is coming to a school, my God. Just to hear inspector of education is coming, and they were not even announcing. It's not like the kangaroo system whereby delegate will tell them, I'm coming to visit. You start keeping envelopes. No. And inspector of education takes you unaware. You cannot imagine we have pedagogic inspectors of all the subjects. Most of them don't even go to classrooms. They're still in the office and they're sleeping. Some of them go and do their business, private businesses, and they make their money different from what the government is paying them. Ask yourself, what is the role of pedagogic inspectors? For secondary school, you have bilingualism. All the sectors have pedagogic inspectors. Regional pedagogic inspectors who are supposed to ensure that their subjects are taught according to the norms. But you ask themselves, they receive money every month. What do they do? How many times do they even visit schools? Some of them don't even visit schools. So at the end, the teachers who are employed, some of them are underemployed, some of them are not even qualified, and these pedagogic inspectors, they just stay because at the end of it, money plays a role. The moment you want to even raise an eyebrow, he knows they can come and meet an inspector and say, just hold this envelope. The worst of it is the labor inspectors. You have litigations. You are punished unjustly. Like Mara was saying, you can be 15 years, you say want to ask for increment. They fire you. You got me the pedagogy inspector. No, on va voir, because before you know it, the proprietor will prefer to come and give him money than to add their salary. Yes. So the whole system is in a juxtaposing manner. Okay. I said they only should go on retirement. All of those ministers, in fact, they should just go. We need a new system. Okay, let me take so many messages. Greetings and kudos to you and your panelist, Mr. Kum. This issue of following standards in our schools is multifaceted, ranging from indiscipline, collective promotion, teacher insecurity, lack of motivation, mismatch of the curriculum, etc. Digging. Nelson is watching from Yaoundé.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. I buy the idea of the kangaroo man that the curriculum isn't the best. If we want a strong standard of education, let the basic education be based on training pupils on mathematics and languages only, and avoid the numerous subjects taught at the level. When they acquire these skills, they will do better from secondary school level upwards. Okay, so many of them. Can I even read them? I'm not sure. This one says, thanks a million for always using your platform to educate Cameroonians. Mr. Liu, as a teacher, I agree totally that education in Cameroon today is sold out totally to businessmen and women. You see someone who has never gone to secondary school owning a secondary school, and this person is the one telling teachers how to teach. And Mr. Liu, if you try to attempt to do what is right or advance reasons to be treated better, as a teacher, proprietor will tell you to leave. In fact, before you know it, a different person has taken over. It's just a total mess. I am in Melon, Mr. Liu, and here in Melon, private schools and proprietors are in a continuous fight. Teachers are threatened here. A proprietor doesn't want you to teach only in his school and does everything to prevent you from teaching another school. But the unfortunate 35,000 francs is what they want you to settle for. If you can understand what is happening between private schools in Melon, then you can understand a bit how this Cameroon is operating. Thank God we teachers have learned our lessons. Okay, Morpho Jackson is writing from Melon. Yes, but is this also an apt description of what teachers are going through in Cameroon?
Yeah, I want to say that when a teacher is overworks, is underpaid and undervalued, there is no need. You will begin to expect that teacher to give you the desired result you want from children. When teachers are not valorized, what do you expect from them? Teachers barely have two square meals a day. Teachers are unable to take care of their health when they fall sick. Teachers have many difficulties, yet some of them don't even live in good houses. Rent is an issue. Look at the situation here in Douala. What is the cost of a room? A teacher is being paid 50,000 in a school for 10 months. And to be paid for that 10 months, you are asked to come to school the whole month of June when the children are not there in order to take the 10th month, which will be paid maybe in July. All these conditions just to make sure that you call yourself, you deliver something and then you take something back in order to go and feed your family. The situation is deplorable. The way teachers are being treated is so unfair. And I think that teachers are the center of the education system. And if they are not given the compensation they deserve, then things cannot work. They cannot work. It is high time school owners, school administrators prioritize teachers, give value the teachers deserve, treat teachers well, provide them with better working conditions, not only about salary, their health conditions, retirement schemes and all that. Teachers should have some security, job security. We cannot be working and working and working, at the end of it we retire like misers, like puppets.
Like the case of the guy talking from Melon. When you go to a place like Melon, because I go to Kongsamba. Kongsamba is just a few minutes from Melon. Now, school fee there is about 45,000. Now, somebody owns a school. Let's take it that the school fee is 50,000 francs. And this school, they have about 200 children. How much do you think they'll pay the teacher? That's why I still come back to the fact that the government ought to take responsibility to know that the children in Melon deserve an education. And if they can reach out there and someone wants to do, they should come in to do something, so that that thing is properly done, because they were the ones to do it in the first place. If you have if your school fee is 50,000, you have 200 children. How much is that? Then for how long are you going to recover the money for the location, the land you bought, the building you put up, and then you pay these teachers, and you think of your own retirement as a proprietor? So it comes back to the system. That's what we're saying. The system needs to be revisited. So my brother in Melon, it's unfortunate. Your proprietors are not wicked.
Yeah, but the proprietor, what was the objective when you said you wanted to open school? Did you tell government that I'm opening business? What is in your application is that I want to help more minds. Is that not where the problem is?
Yeah.
Yes, but
and so from what the proprietor gets is what they use to give the teachers. So the teachers cannot live on 35,000. They can't live on
the main issue that's coming, Mr. Leo, is the fact that the proprietors themselves, they pretend to help educate Cameroonians when they are business persons.
That's it.
And the worst of it, the school I taught before I resigned in Mbunya, when I was lastly treated, and I told the mother as I'm going, I'm changing the profession. When I come back to teaching is when I am owning a school. And I'm starting that next year. I'm not playing with that one. Because what is happening?
I'm going to apply there.
You realize now that in the school business, first, we have schools that the government gives subvention.
Yeah.
There's 2 schools that I taught in Mbunya. They receive subventions every year. But what the proprietors do with that, he usually takes the subvention and invests in his different business. Now, where did the government go wrong? There's few schools that they give subventions. They don't come back to ensure that these subventions are well utilized.
That's it.
Because the intention of subvention to a school is to help ameliorate the living conditions of the teachers teaching there.
That's
the intention of subvention. But now, when the government comes in, first, the subvention comes in a technical manner. You have to go and chip something.
For it to
first, they call it Yaoundé. Ton subvention est déjà prêt. Fais quelque chose. You now live there. You look at how much is there. You pinch something and give to the person who has to sign it for to pass through min fee. And when you sign it, it means if you are to receive about 5 million, about 1 million has already gone out. Now you come and receive 4 million. Now in the 4 million, when it comes now, the government now gives a blind eye because those who are supposed to come and survive have already taken money from it. So instead of them coming down to see, but with this 4 million, when they check how much have you been able to pay, what is your pay package? And when they come under normal condition as per inspection, they are supposed to ask you records and then call teachers at random, individually to ask how much is your pay to see if it rhymes with what the principal has indicated. They don't even come at all because once mobile flow will chop. And then they talk plenty.
Yes.
So these are the corrupt practices that you discover that at the end of it, I still go back. I will have on the government's neck because if these things were properly well checked, look at the situation in Melon, 35,000 francs. Now, the worst of it is that when teachers, like Mara was saying, proprietors will tell you, I have this number of students, I have to meet up with the land, and all the like. Now, ask yourself, how about the proprietors who have already made the money, recover from the land and everything? Take, for example, mission schools.
Yeah.
Cali schools, those lands were given to them free of charge in those days.
In those days.
The mission Presbyterian or Baptist, most of them, the chiefs, out of their magnanimity and their generosity, offer these lands, huge chunks of land to these missions for free.
Yeah.
Now, missionaries came from abroad, constructed this classroom for free till today. But if you imagine the school fees that you are going to a secondary school, you are paying 600,000 francs.
A secondary school.
And then they call it as a church. The school is owned by the church, and you are a Christian at that church. You are paying 600,000. It's witchcraft in broad daylight. And ask yourself, school fees is 600,000 francs, some 450, and all the like. How much do they pay the teachers? You come and hear 70,000, 65,000 francs, peanuts. So even the mission themselves are also devils incarnate. So the whole issue has expired. All of them on leave. Thank you.
All of them on leave. Okay, we are looking, except you have something, but I want us to look at the community because we're talking about falling standards. Yeah. It is true that education is gotten from the schools. We're talking about the secondary, primary, and universities. But let us look at the standards from our homes because the homes are also supposed to contribute in educating our pupils and students. We have the church that is supposed to help. We have the community. Are they themselves doing what they are supposed to do to complement what you guys are doing in schools? You are a parent, you are a Christian, you are a community person.
Yeah, Mr. Liu, it is true what you are saying because at the educational level, all these has to play the role so that we should be able to come out with a complete system of education that is clear for everyone. Now, the basis of education begins at home because that is where the community begins. Now, it is at home where a child needs to learn how to say good morning. It is from there that he knows that I can, if I take something and they ask, that is honesty, I should be able to say, I did it. I should be able to do something which is good, maybe sweep the floor without asking something from mama, or doing this without. So if the community does not really play its own role, education would not be complete, because at 90%, education has been abandoned at the level of the teacher, which is really, really bad, and it cannot work that way. We have to work all together, the church, the home, the government. Everybody has to put in one or two things for the educational system to be completed. So I believe that if all of us who are the community, if we put in our efforts at all the levels, everything will be
but
okay.
what is the foundation of all of this? If at the level of the church we have failed to mold minds, because let us assume that the schools have failed them. Now, Christians or children who are in church from the very tender age to how different, what can we say that they are better behaved today, especially with the proliferation of these churches? And then at home, we have parents who are now more artificial, they are more knowledgeable, they have gone to schools, they are professors, they are this, which means that they have more knowledge than our parents. Yes, and that should be the foundation. If the foundation is shaky, the child is very disciplined, disrespectful, has no manners at the home, in church, can they perform miracles in school?
They cannot perform miracles in school if parents and the community do not work in hand with the school to make sure that children are better behaved. I want to say that parents have played a very great role in the fallen standard of education in this country, because they don't want to collaborate with teachers. You see situations where parents go and sabotage teachers to the administrators. I think as a parent, if you have a problem or you have a challenge with your child and the teacher, you go closer to the teacher and dialogue with this teacher to see how you can improve on your child's difficulty, or you can solve your child's problem. But it is not the case with some parents. They think because they have paid fees in a school and they have handed a child to a particular class, they have every right to do whatever they want to do with the teacher. They have every right to control the teacher as the one. They have every right to talk down at the teacher who is teaching their children, which is not correct. So parents need to know that they have a role to play. They have to collaborate much with the teachers in order to see into it that their children receive the right training. That is not all. When they say the falling standard of the school's falling standard, the school is facing a falling standard, it is not for all cases, because we have parents who have already understood what is going on. We have intentional parents who are able to cooperate with teachers to make sure that their children are outstanding. We were talking about discipline the other minutes. When we talk about this, I think in as much as we respect cultural values, we need to know that using corporal punishment as a measure of discipline is not the best, because it is ineffective. It is not by beating the child that the child can behave better. Rather, when you beat that child, you are putting fright in the child. That child will actually behave the way you want, but it is out of the consequence of the cane that that child is behaving like that. In the absence of that cane, that child will go back to the wrong behavior. So it is important to model the right behavior you expect from learners. It is important to program yourself as a teacher. It is important to give clear rules and regulations, set expectations you want from your learners, so that they will behave according to what you have asked them. But if you think that as a teacher you don't put all this in order, and then by the time a child misbehaves, maybe it's even an age-appropriate behavior, and you start flogging the child, then I think corporal punishment has never been an effective tool for discipline.
Mr. Leo, my own case, I will tell you, teacher, lay my child. When I come, I will act.
I always tell
because it is a cane that made me to be up today. If my child does wrong, lay the child, call me, I'll come and act.
That's what I want to say. I didn't do homework because I understood why I needed to do homework. My teachers of blessed memory, when Mr. Yankan will hit your back, you will feel it in your chest. Government English Primary School, Bepanda Douala. So you knew his hand on your back when you didn't do homework. So I did homework, not because I understood. Yep. Until today, that discipline remains with me. I struggle with my children. I went to boarding school where you woke up at 5 a.m. not because you understood that waking up early was good, but it's because if you didn't wake up, it's not even a teacher, a prefect will sound you on your bed. Till date, I don't care the time I sleep. I wake up. I don't care the time I sleep. I wake up automatically at that time, and then I can choose to just remain in bed if I have an easy morning. So, you know, those are the things that we are saying. That I want to say, as Mr. Leo was talking about community, discipline that was community-based was more effective. Because even these prefects who beat us, I was surprised to discover that these people are children like me. That when you grow up now, you see how close we were related in age. 2 years ahead.
1 year in front of you.
And then,
class 3,
along the line,
assistant prefect.
That's it.
He's punishing you and beating you. 1 year difference.
And the school backs him up for that discipline. So there was order. It's true that there were a few cases of abuse, but those ones were also handled. So the consequences were more positive than what we have now with all of this fine talk of we sit down and discuss with the child. Where do you begin to sit down? Even now, as a married woman, how do I start sitting down to discuss with my mother on some issues? They tell you what to do, and that still helps us and guides us and shapes us. My father is still alive and blessed. He calls me and tells me,
it's instruction.
This thing, you obey, because there is still that arrière-pensée, as they say in French, that this man can act. And we knew the cultural consequence of you disobeying an elder. But those things have been lost with the human rights stuff, like he is saying. That community-based approach. Mr. Leo, parents are the same people who go to church. So even in church, the pastor smiles at the parent who gives the biggest envelope to the church. So it all stems from the home, as God himself started by setting up a family. Once the families have been destabilized, the entire
even
community,
palaces could trust you that your child is hidden. They take the child to the palace.
That's it.
The child corporal punishment.
That's
I
it.
want to believe that before we are saying that before laws favor teachers to discipline children. If these laws were removed in the hands of teachers and said don't use corporal punishment, it means there was an abuse at a certain extent. I have seen a case where through beating, you could not look, the child was so, the whole back was reddish because of the use of a cane. And imagine I as a parent looking at my child in that situation. How will I feel? I will feel like attacking that teacher if I have temper issues. So I think if this was, there are ones, but we need to take precautions. We need to take precautions. Life is fragile.
That's why I said the schools handle them. They brought the teacher in close, not this thing that we see today, that a parent runs into school and is scolding at the teacher.
Now, I want us to look at falling standards. When you look at the conditions of a teacher in the past, the teachers apparently were very respected in their communities. They were like lords. And they were also disposed to take very good care of their children. They were at ease. Are teachers of today really considered lords in their communities? Are their children being well taken care of, and are their families at ease that predisposes them to give their all to the children they are given to teach?
No, Mr. Liu, I will say no and no and no. Imagine a teacher who barely has 2 meals a day for his family. He has a family of maybe 3. He has to pay school fee for them. He has to struggle. At times you will see some of these teachers are forced, because I've worked in the secondary as well, where I was a discipline master. You will see a teacher at times during break, he is forced to go close to children to have something to eat. That respect, he loses it. At times we could not pass the same road like this with a teacher. When I saw my teacher coming this way, I have to change, I will take another direction. But today, you can sit there, you are discussing, Mr. Liu, your pupils or your student is there. He's talking, maybe drinking. You could not see that. So that respect, or that aspect of a teacher being Lord, or a teacher being a father and having all that respect has gone. It is no more there, because the teacher has lost all his value, right at the level of the government and at the level of the school. Coming back to one case, I faced a case where I had to punish a child because I took a phone from him. When I came, he was exposed. He was showing something to the friends. When I took the phone, I don't want to say it, it was deplorable. He had snapped the parents and he was showing it to the classmate. So when I took that phone, I had to punish that child, and I told him to bring the parents. When he went home, the comment or what he told the parents came in the whole school. Monsieur le surveillant général, vous allez partir de cette école. When he came, and he had already sent information to my proprietor. When the proprietor came, he himself called me in the office. The first thing he gave me was a query letter. When I took the query letter, I went to my office. When the man came, when I gave them the phone, the man was dumbfounded. So that respect, if at the level of your proprietor, he cannot give you that protection or that respect, that when the parents come, first of all, tell him to calm down, don't talk to my teacher like that. And if there's any problem, we solve it in the office. That respect has gone. So the pupils have taken it already in them. Even at the level of the primary, the teachers are no more respected. You could not stand where your head teacher was. You could not. It is no more the case, Mr. Leo.
Yeah, but that is also the falling standards, because seemingly when we talk of falling standards, we may want to think that it only has to do with schools, but the standards of respect for the elderly, respect for our teachers is no longer there. But that respect aspect, the moral aspect, comes from the home and not necessarily from the school.
Yeah, but even teachers, we the teachers, like the head teacher just mentioned, we the teachers and the head teachers, we have also contributed to that loss of respect on us. But it boils down to the community, the system, because our teachers didn't come to our homes as home teachers. It was, in fact, when you just hear the term, you know where it came from. Yeah, when I was reading English, Dr. Ebo said you would know the origin of something from the language. He talked about cartouche. He said you don't have that in that word in English, because in our system of education, there was no cartouche, there was no ball. So you don't have that terminology. So when you look at Douala, the repetiteur, you know that in the English culture, we did not know that. But now in Douala, with the son, I am working, then I go to a home to go and teach a child. My salary is 50,000, my house rent is 30,000, my bills altogether 4,000. So I'm left with 16,000. You go there, and then it's a nanny that serves you food. The woman sits and says, Therese, if you serve a teacher a manger, by the time so the nanny is serving you, the nanny has the time to analyze you, and the nanny is the one to give a report on how you teach to the parents. So you see that is a whole system where the teacher is constantly working towards getting favor, gaining favor from people. So you have to flatter the nanny, you have to be nice to the nanny, so that the nanny should give a good report about you, so that you can maintain that teaching. And it's a whole thing that if teachers too could just dare to stand and put an end to some of these things, schools cannot function without teachers. That's the truth.
Yeah, but the problem is, if they could. Now, is it not also an issue of regulating the sector, defining who is a teacher? Because even if teachers, trained teachers, were to say we are not teaching, graduates, advanced level holders will float everywhere, and then it is more of a business. The proprietor actually does not care whether you are qualified or not. All is that, can you teach?
Yeah, I think that.
Yes. The proprietor actually does not care whether you are qualified or not. All is that, can you teach?
Yeah, I think that one is gradually been taken care of, because if you come to Boya, for example, we had top proprietors, I don't want to call their names here, whom we suffered under, and then teachers started getting that awareness. Before you knew it, they started forming, they left in a group, formed the school. All the frank fees, the summer still we have in Boya, as a result of factions that left from the men, all the champions. Yeah. So you discover now that when the teachers left in a group, even the charity and other like charity corporations and the rest, champions, you are saying, when they left and they were forming these schools, you realize that the way they operated these schools became completely different, because now the people have suffered from the same system and they understood how to manage it. And then that's what caused the main proprietors to collapse. I think only one is surviving now in Buya. I don't want to call them for publicity reasons, but only one is surviving. All those main proprietors who had controlled education in Buya had collapsed in their schools, because the teachers now had to come out. It's the same like in your neighborhood. Those who suffer in the primary schools, where your proprietor is giving you grammar, just call few primary school teachers. I'm sorry, I'm already talking about how they can overthrow you. So get the teachers well. You treat them well, they will not have this thought. If not well, teachers just come together. You just go to somebody will help you before you know it. Start even a carabut, a wooden solve something, because you have the technical know-how.
No, but when you're talking carabut, that is the falling standard also. No. Infrastructure-wise, that's the falling standard.
Mr. Leon, that's even an error.
Where would the children be playing?
There's no playground. Let me come in. That's an error I'm talking about here now. Yes. The error in it is that to quantify or to analyze the quality of education is not from infrastructure.
Yes.
We have taken it the other way around.
Yes.
Yeah.
The business people have given us a different orientation.
Yeah.
The bourgeoisies have told us that it is structure. Mr. Leo, if you hear of the days of Musola Evening School in Mbunya, that was in a funny apartment. But the results they produced was excellent.
No.
So I'm saying
we should advocate for excellence across the board. You
Leo,
can't in 2024 be advocating for people to do schools in Carabao, maybe without a playground,
when I'm saying
without a toilet, without all of this.
I cannot say that toilet. What I'm saying is not, Mr. Leo. Yes. I'm explaining that than for you to see a technical know having rubbish to the mud. It means that people can come together and begin from somewhere. That's the mission I'm passing across, which is very possible. And they have done that, many have done that. Look at Somerset today. That's not Somerset started. Yeah. But today Somerset now is well structured. If they did not take the bull by the horn to come from where they were being molested and to begin, we would not have had the Somerset we hear about today. The others are dead. I don't be calling them for other things, but I think that the message I'm sending across, Mr. Leo, is that if professionals come together and those who have not gone to school recruit them and cannot value them, they should be able to have what it takes to come together and set up something that can now reflect the quality of education required.
Now, the big question I want to ask is, these teachers who are teaching in most of these schools where these fees are 100, 200, 400, can the teachers themselves send their children to these schools?
In some of the cases, the schools don't allow the teachers to. When I say the schools don't allow, the salary they pay you doesn't permit you to.
That is the question I'm asking.
That's the last place where I worked. I wouldn't call the name. That was my problem. Because I believe that, I usually use this simple example. I used to say, I can't be selling puff puff, and when my children are hungry, I cross over to buy puff puff. So my first criteria when my kids were small was that if you're employing me, my children should be able to school there. But I got to a school where all of the salary I was paid went back to them. And I did that to show them that no. And I told them, if something is not done at the end of the year, I'm going to quit, because I can't work and not have a salary. I should work, be able to pay my children's fees and be able to eat, pay transport to come to work. So when I did that, I left. I said, no, enough is enough, like he's saying. I said, enough is enough. I think I know something. So I'm not going to let people torment me. I can't eat what I produce. It's not true. So some of these schools, they don't care. While others use it as a rope. I know of head teachers too who have been in this Douala for more than 15 years and their salary is not up to 15,000. And the only reason they are there is because the proprietor will say, so they just tell, and what about the children growing and outgrowing that level? What happens? You need to find somebody of the village because they tell you, you have 2 spaces. To bring children. So you are forced to constantly get people from the village to come. There is no way your salary is going to get to 100,000. So it's deplorable.
So very deplorable.
Yeah, you teach in Banga. We just learned somebody shared his experience from Melong. This has been ongoing for so many years today. And you see private schools mushrooming. Do you see a proprietor or somebody who writes that I want to help in educating students actually sit down and count the costs, that I want the children to have the best of education, I pay a befitting structure, I get quality teachers, I get a quality toilet, I get quality playground, I get almost everything, because we are talking about standards. We saw how schools were constructed in the 80s, in the 90s. We know the primary schools, how they were. You see a vast football ground. We see there was a tap, there was a this. Are we progressing or we are regressing? Going by what we see today? We
are regressing because school today is more of a business than a social service where we want to help build better citizens. You are talking the case of Mbanga. In Mbanga, we have many private schools, but these private schools don't have that standard that a school should have. We all know that in order to start a school, there are criteria that needs to be followed. But these criteria are not respected, yet these people operate without any problems. My question is, what is happening?
Well, you want to talk about the private schools. I am in Kongsamba, where a government school doesn't have a toilet. A government school that has been in Kongsamba for more than 30 years, because children who went there, some of them already have masters. It doesn't have electricity.
Yeah, but we are talking across the border.
So that's what I'm just saying, that it's not about only the private schools. That's It comes back to the system.
Yeah.
The
For
system,
sure.
well, how do you
Like
come
the
as an
government schools Madam
inspector?
is
Yeah.
saying, some of them, the government only right create. Politicians
Yeah.
go and lobby.
Yeah.
Once
For
created,
sure.
PTA takes charge.
Yeah.
I say it's a terrible thing that government.
We shouldn't politicize. I want us to educate. I want us to educate that I want to start a school. What are the things? Because a government may just create one school in Banga, but in that Banga you have 50 private schools,
for sure.
and they take the bulk of the students. Today, when you see the positioning of schools, we're talking about quality here. Does it favor learning? Because seemingly everybody just needs a space, even in the middle of a market, wherever they are, and then the school starts up.
I think there it is wrong, because for a school to really operate, there are certain criteria, as Madam said, for it to function, and I believe that it is true you are saying that we should not politicize it, but there are things that the government needs to look before accepting or granting, before approving the creation and the opening of a school. And now, even after they have opened and it is operational, they have to send people there to see if really what these people said or agreed, it is really. Imagine you are in a school where people barely have space for devotion. That's an example. Talk less of having a space where they can go in for PE. Talk less of having a space where they can even go for extracurricular activities.
You need maybe, okay, the toilets are self-contained today, but almost everything is just boxed.
Yeah, even the toilets, even if they are inside, and because the toilet needs to be a bit far from the classes. If you have a toilet, a school where the toilets are just around, it will indispose the pupils, and the learning there becomes a problem. So I believe that there are certain things that need to be put in place for this education to really function, which comes back
in the middle
at the level of the government.
You are in the middle of almost everything.
In those days, our schools used to have even gardens. Today, we are talking about involving children in hands-on activities. We should relate learning to daily life realities. But now, come and look at the school environment where our schools operate today. There is no space for children to do anything, to carry out these practical activities. Look at the new subjects in the curriculum, like the agro-pastoral farming, all this. Where do these children go to carry out these practicals? Where do they carry out these practicals? You open a school in maybe a 200 meter square of land, everything is boxed up together, and you don't have where children can even, no computer laboratory, lack of resources to carry on these activities. The curriculum is there. These are the different materials that are supposed to be used. But in reality, it is not existing in the different schools. These resources are not there for teachers to use to carry out their work.
It's true, Mr. Leo. It's just like, the text will tell you that the school is not supposed to open on less than 1,000 meters square. These things are specified.
Yeah.
But you know that you have your 200 meters square, and you know how to go about the gymnastics. That's why I said that the whole issue boils down on the government, who is the supervising authority. Because if proprietors want to be involved in business without following the norms, and you, the authorities, you are not there to follow up, come to think about it, how many schools do they close every year? That's before the beginning of every year.
But
they have closed already now.
They are functioning.
And they are functioning.
Yeah.
You start asking, how did they even start operating before they are saying that they should close? Some of them operated for 8 years, 10 years. Yeah. And each time you see the minister assign a degree, schools in Littoral close are this number of schools, schools in the center this number of schools. So you now discover they themselves are into business too. I mean, the tutelage ministry is also into business. So at the end of it, you start asking yourself, where are we heading to? How do we have the specification? Run a school of not more than 1,000 meters square. I'm running a school on 200 meters square. Because I put story building, I apply this on this one. Then as he's talking about where to have devotion, you don't even have it. Then the worst of it, even the divisional officers themselves too, who are administrative authorities, keep legalizing bars beside schools. Whereas law tells you that they are supposed to be not less than 500 meters away from the schools.
You're saying besides school, the new phenomenon in Douala now is that school playgrounds are being reduced.
Yes.
You've not noticed that they're being reduced, and the gate is open up, the walls are opened up, and they have made stores with all kinds of things being sold.
You can imagine.
At the school building. So I just keep wondering. I say, I don't know what is happening. Do they really think of, and then we are surprised at the kinds of children we have?
I mean,
it's It's
Take
deplorable.
a look at it. We're talking about FENASCO, games and all the like. Performances are dropping.
Yeah.
Because most of the children don't even have the field where they have to go. The other day, last year, before this closed around May, I met the school around Makepe. The children left the school campus. They had to go a distance to a bigger field. Yes. And they were moving in a group. Imagine if a vehicle fails its brakes at another level. It will cross the children. Yeah. Why? They don't have where to do the sports activities. So they have to leave a distance from where they're in school in a group to go elsewhere where there's an open field to do their sport activity and to come back. Now, you can imagine these are the errors, and this school is authorized, duly authorized. I mean, duly authorized. You see the authorization number, this and that from the minister. How did they get authorization when the space even to carry other extracurricular activities is not even there? When the dimension given by the government, as in terms of surface area for the school to cover, is not even half of what is specified in the government document. So at the end of it, I said the people who man these structures, all of them have to go on leave. The worst of it, like for some of us who are from mission, we had this system of they will tell you, like what Bara was saying, they will tell you, no, you are a Christian in the school. You don't have any advantage like a Christian in that school. We were there when we were talking about Protestant college. Men will pay 5,000. Women will pay 3,000. We are paid at different fronts, different years. But when you go there, you are paying 650 for school fees. Now, it's no longer a school for the poor. Yeah. But we knew that church was originally supposed to be a school whereby you cannot, Christians who cannot make it, they can now go there and then pay something little. So the school, the church servants, with other advantages they have running business, but it doesn't go.
I want us to actually understand something, because I raised this issue of location of schools. Seemingly we are not hitting hard on it because we have not taken time to do a comparative study. When you look at where most of the schools in our localities, communities were located, they were located at the outskirts of almost all. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
They had Bishoroga, CPC Bali.
All if you look at where GBHS, almost. Now you see, we had mango trees. Guavas, yes. We had so many of these schools were located out of town, and being in these campuses gave you a sense of being in a center of learning.
Yes.
And today, almost everybody is studying within bars. You can easily live here, go watch a film, live here, drop out, and then we are wondering and not actually understanding where we schooled in the past and where we are schooling today.
Yeah. Mr. Leo, you said we should not, I don't know what term to use, but it is hard to talk about the school and not talk about the government.
Yeah, but
because the towns have grown. You know, when I went to PHS Kumba, for example, we're down there and Bongero in the bush. But now the town has come, has met up with the school, then Kake, right, all to Ekumbe is all a town. So something has to be done. What was the rule to protect the space around the school? And secondly, since school has become business, you must go close to this location and localization. At least I did that in economics some years ago.
But is that not where we are failing? Because we are talking about the molding of minds. If we have to locate it like industries, then something is wrong. The government, I'm sure the government intentionally took GTHS womb somewhere far so that a child leaves the town and knows that I am going to school.
Yes.
Sees trees, can walk a farm, and almost all the schools were located. Yes.
And Mr. Leo, today, who is it who gave me the permission to do a school in the heart of Bonanjo?
That is it.
It's the same government. So they should have developed. That's why I said there was no law to guide what ought to have happened. The towns, if you have to go and do your school at Peka Vete now, how many children will you have when people don't even have access to Peka Katos? So if there was a road system that could lead, even though these are schools were in the bush, there were roads that led to these places. So we could go there.
PHS Batch was a road that led there.
Yes.
PHS Andek and all.
I remember going to visit my younger siblings in CPC Bali. It was clear. I went from Yaoundé to there.
Imagine studying in this environment. It tells you that you are where you have to learn. But take the schools around Bunamusa.
Maybe that's why those of us who study those areas are a little bit refined.
Yes.
Because, as you said, when you look at CPC, but we had a eucalyptus trees.
Yes.
We had a forest in school.
Yeah.
Sometimes you leave from there, you go and stay under the tree, you are studying, you are relaxing. You will not even get vehicles passing, you will not get a sound of vehicle around.
You won't get the smell of somebody's pepper soup.
You will not get that. You know, we had a place called Matterhorn.
Yes.
A hill there.
You
want to get cool air, you climb on the stones there. You look the school campus right down. It was quite refreshing. But then, as I said, the whole system is the cause of it, because when you allow it for business people to come without regulating, what do you expect? But if you had a strong measure that this is the surface area, even if business want to come around, you give order, you should fence your school up to, like, the fence is completely up to that. The environment should not infiltrate the school. But now, how do you look at it that you can, how do you run a school on 200 meters square? And then you're going to come there, children are there more than 1,000 in that kind of place. First, it's God who's even just kind to us, because imagine if an epidemic comes there, you would imagine how it is. But you could imagine that it was an assignment, if you had Sacred Heart, to move from one dormitory to another. I mean, talk less of moving from one staff quarter to another area. It's like you are moving in a whole quarter. And those things were well taken care of. So the colonial powers came in with this kind of system of education. We got independence, and then corruption came back in, and then we lost the values. So we are crying about values like that, Mr. Lua keeps saying. We have contributed our own negative aspect. But we think that if the government had a strong mechanism, that this thing must be like that, because the government is the chief whip. I don't think that would have been able to go against that government mechanism. So if the government comes back to it, even these schools that are in town, it's not late. You can say, okay, we want to help relocate the schools. They have their documents. We give them documents yet. Now we are helping to relocate a school from this place to this place, and they give us some subvention to buy school buses and some other facilities. They can relocate comfortably, get back to our old system, and run these schools. And then you don't legalize schools every day, and then you leave half-baked schools operate every day without documents. Today, you close them down. The next month, September, they are opening their doors. You close 200 schools. The next month, all the 200 schools plus 220 have added illegally. They are still operating. So at the end of it, who is playing the gallery to the full? It's the government itself. So I said they've all expired. Let them go and live.
Okay, they have all expired. We are talking about fixing the falling standards in our schools and the conditions of our teachers. I will start with you. What, according to you, what can government do? What should the school proprietors themselves do? And what can the teachers do to turn the tide?
The first thing I would say is I'll start with teachers. Teachers should know that they are building lives. They are not building houses. A year lost in a child's life cannot be regained. That's what I always tell them, and that's what I told myself. That's the first thing. Teachers should review their reason for teaching. Secondly, the proprietors, please, you should review the objective of a school. It is not to make money. It is to make people, and these people will come back. I see how alumni go back. We go back to our schools today, and we are the assets to those schools. So proprietors need to review the objective of opening a school. And finally, the government needs to take its responsibility as the authority and the chief whip to oversee whatever is going on. And I would say again, what you don't give, what you don't support, what you don't subvert, you can't control. So they need to come back to a system whereby they can finance the key aspects of education, that is teachers, and then they can be able to restructure and get things back in order.
Yeah, but how do we better the situation of teachers also, so that they regain that lordship that they carried in those days? Because I imagine how we respected our teachers, the entire community would respect them. They were living like very respectable persons, and because they could take care, they had respect, they had value for themselves, they could take care of their family, they could take care of their children, so they could, with pride and prestige, teach these students.
That's why I said the government should make sure that teachers are well paid. And the only way they can make sure that teachers are well paid is by making sure that the money is there.
Yeah, but are you telling me that some proprietors are not making billions after school? When you make so much money, why don't you
make so much money?
But why don't you say proprietors should take care of you?
The problem is
that
the government should force.
That's it. The government should have a control
mechanism.
That's it.
I have proprietors that every holiday they go to Europe with their family.
With their family.
That is profit they have made. Teachers have made profit for them. Every holiday, 3 months, they take their wife and children, they are abroad. That's witchcraft in body.
A certain standard of payment should be agreed by the government, even at the level of the private sector. They should regulate also at the private sector, because if they take care only at the government sector and the private is abandoned to itself, the proprietors will still make their profit and continue. But if they regulate, they say, okay, at the level of the private, this is how we want that proprietors should pay teachers, I think it will go a
And
long
like I
way.
said, they cannot
Yes.
want if they don't contribute.
The regulation is already there.
It's
You
there.
know that the
They
base
cannot
salary for
want.
teachers should be at least 60,000, right? It is left for teachers. It is left for teachers to refuse signing what is less than the base. First of all, who are you? You know what you can put in, and you know that the price you can tag for your services. So I think teachers should first of all be able to valorize themselves. They should put a price tag to the services they are given. You are not forced to sign a contract that the terms are not clear to you. So we teachers should see into it that if the contract terms are not clear, we shouldn't sign it. I still see teachers who go to schools and teach without contracts. That should not happen again. Why should you be teaching without a contract? What guarantee do you have to work without a contract?
1 year contract renewable. Remember, like the other panelist just said, it's something I have been through, where the school is unjust to you. You go to the labor office. I don't want to call the lawyer's name. I hope he can hear me. We were 5 of us. We said, no, we know book. We know our rights.
Yes,
we went to Bonanjo.
I faced the same
yes,
issue.
we went to Bonanjo,
Yes.
5 of us, and I know he's listening if he's watching. We gave him our money. 50,000. He collected our 50,000. No, he would do this. He wrote and signed and made us to walk up and down. We started calling him. His wife is sick. His dog has died. His cat has gone on holiday. The pan broke yesterday.
That proprietor I'm giving him double. What do you forget?
But that's it, because the proprietor went to the labor office and we saw the boy. We're happy that this lawyer is going to work after that day. But you're listening somewhere. I know you know.
Many of us face that. Yeah.
Signing a contract. And at the end of the day, what they agreed to pay us, they didn't pay. When we went towards the labor delegate, what happened? They sent the labor inspector, go and find out what is happening. When the man came, what happened? They just put their hand in the pocket and said, take it. And then he turned and asked us, where is the contract people signed? We looked at each other. There was no contract.
There was no contract.
That is when I said, if I don't read the terms of the contract, I don't work with any provider.
Madam, I've heard what you have said there. Let me give you our experience. Some of us signed those contracts, right? Far Elvis Tayong, you will teach religion from 5 upper seats. You will teach A-level history, Cameroon history. You will teach philosophy lower seat, case close. Your periods are about 18. You start. The man understand after 2 months, even if you are stopping, you will not have any school to go in again.
Yes.
He comes and tells you where you know the man of economics from 3 is no longer there. Please help take law and government from 4, take economics from 3. Bam, he adds. Yes. And then he tells you, because of that, at 5,000, notice are difficult. Now he has a teacher that he was supposed to pay about 30,000 francs. He has transferred the load to you. You are now on close to 30 periods, and he has added only 5,000. Yeah. Now, it's on a contract. Look at it. I'm explaining how these guys play their mafia. You are now, September has started, October, November. You are already mid of November, and they're adding your workload. Now, he knows that if you leave from there, you cannot get another school because all the schools have been sealed. Yes. You'll be forced with the poor contract you have. Labor inspector too will not even help you out. Yep. You try to manage things they won't go through. Proprietors, let God just forgive all of you. God should just forgive people. People may abandon teaching. God should just forgive all of you.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, but we are looking at how to fix the situation.
Yep.
Yes. What practically should be done?
This is how we can fix it. The Ministry of Secondary Education, hear me very. Take a pen and paper. Let me teach you now, since you don't want to learn. Point number 1. You already regime up to a 2D. 1. Put in place an insurance scheme for the teachers. I repeat, put in place an insurance scheme for the teachers, which means they have job security. Even if they are living from one school to another, they still have that insurance scheme running, meaning that if they are going on retirement, they will not be wretched. Point number 2. Yaounde to the year very well, since that you people are sleeping and only buying big cars. Minister buying 100 cars, car going 1 million, all the like you people are sleeping. Point number 2. Get a health insurance policy for all teachers. And that health policy should run in a way that they can pay only 50% of their overall bill when they go to a government-run hospital. That means that despite his salary, he is sure that if he has headache, then get an insurance that goes to his children. If it's for children, they have about 30% off. It's for him, he has 50% off front. That can make him, that's what we call health guarantee. Point number 3. Put in place a permanent salary scheme guided by the government. Primary, not less than 80,000 francs. Secondary, not less than 120. When you put that parameter, you reduce the charlatans coming into school business. Because before you come to it, you must be able to be sure that you will pay as per this salary scheme. Once you do that, people will envy teaching and they will go there to give their best. When you have all of this, now you go to point number 4. Start to regulate the kind of persons who get into the business, which means put it in a way that if they're getting into business, they must be related to education. For example, you want to be a sole proprietor of a school. If you don't have a background of education, you refuse. But if it's coming as a group, 5 of them, one of them must be somebody who has taught or a teacher by profession into the school business. If it's a group of persons, when you have this, that person, I'm sure, will be able to relate the worries of the teachers into that business and be able to go. If you maintain these principles, then you get point number 5. Restructure the curriculum. Restructure. Come to think of it, in the days we're going to school, primary school, you have rural science. Rural science means, most of the schools, they had their farms. And they were producing carrot and all the like. Now, in the modern days, how do you put it, education people? Put in place a revamped system of education, whereby for the agricultural aspect of it, those who are already in the tight area, like in cities, they are free to get lands outskirts of the town, where school buses can decide, this week is agricultural day. The whole of class 6, school bus takes them to the farm. They work the whole of that day on the farm. Practical on the farm. Before you know it, they will start running school farms, having beans, having corn, having this. When they leave class 6, some of them already know what the importance of farming is all about, because if not, many children feel that farming is for poor people.
Yeah.
But our parents send us to school out of farming.
Right.
If you have these principles, I don't know if they're taking note, because they're not watching me here and laughing, because they're all politicians. If you put these principles into place, and education does not get its value, this issue of quantitative education than qualitative cancelled. My child goes to school, class 1. The bag is weighing not less than 8 kilograms. I went to school as teacher, when I was entering and said, textbooks are buying that, and the book is going down. Class 1. I went there, he said, no, it's the curriculum. When I went through, I saw the subjects, I don't know what in fact,
yeah, but yes, you want all of this. Should nothing also be done at the level of the teachers? Are the teachers themselves not supposed to behave like our teachers did?
Mr. Leo, these 5 principles I've given, if the government just implements them, I am telling you, you will start seeing the behavioral change of teachers. It's automatic.
Are you saying that professions that are well paid in Cameroon, everybody there works so well?
No, you work well when there's a vision, Mr. Leo. I've made mention of all these principles.
No, but we have people who are very well paid in Cameroon. They still are not devoted.
That's why I said that, Mr. Leo, when the government lacks that monitoring mechanism, how do I give a subvention? I don't come to see how it is put in place. If I give it and leave it, it goes the way it is. How am I an inspector of education, of economics? And people are teaching economics anyhow they want. And I'm not visiting schools by surprise. You get a curriculum, in economics class in this school is at this time. You pop in and sit in class and watch the teacher teach. As an inspector par excellence, the way he teaches, even if he talk about economics of scale and factors of labor, you just know whether this man is up to the standard or not. You cannot call the teacher, the school. Did you say this man is an economics teacher? Because those are professionals in that field. You are a journalist. If a journalist just stands, just 2 words in front of you, you will know whether the person is up to the task or not. These are the mechanisms of check and balances that if the state, as repeat Mr. Leo, if the state puts in place mechanisms of check and balance, this rest of the system will flow automatically.
Should something not also be done with respect to the respect of ages of these children? Because we may also be expecting, it's like wanting water out of a stone. A child is this years old, and we expect the child to behave like we did when we went to school.
Yeah, Mr. Leo, that's what we're saying, that if it only boils down to the fact that there should be a check. Because if I'm allowed to manage my business, I will look for customers. And customers can be of any age. So we don't see this 1-year-old child as a learner. We see that 1-year-old child as a customer paying 350,000 francs to me.
Yeah.
So that's why we say there must be a check, because if there is this control, if there is this support, and these teachers can be well paid, then the proprietors too can stand their ground and tell the parents, no, take this child back home until the child is 4. And we see the other aspect of the whole societal change. Most parents now go to work. So the school is like a place where they dump the children for safety. So at very young, 1-year-old, you feel safe to leave the child there and go off to look for money. Things which were not done in our days because our parents were available. Most of our mothers were available. Those who went to farm, they took us to farm. Those who were selling, they took us. Very few parents were workers in those days. And even those who worked. My daughter asked me, Mom, why did you have many children like grandma? My mom has 9. I said, because my own grandma could come and stay for 1 year until the child walks. Then she goes back. My own mom cannot come and stay because things have changed. You see, so all of that, Mr. Leo, it just boils down to the government maybe applying some of the suggestions Mr. Faye is giving, and then every other thing will fall in place.
Yeah.
I want to think that if we say the government have put in place the age limit for class 1 children to be 6 years, and the proprietor doesn't respect that, then you know the government is you and I. We cannot put rules and say let the age be 6 years, and then you go against the rules and expect somebody to come and control you as an adult.
Are we animals?
We are not animals.
Are we not responsible?
We need to be responsible. We need to follow this. We don't need to be followed up with a cane to make sure that these rules are respected.
Okay. So you're saying as a head teacher, 10 parents come. He's the head teacher. 10 parents come with children who are 4 years old. He sends them
they should be sent to the nursery.
And then he has to fire them. He's not to fire him. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, which means what she is saying is that we take responsibility, because the boss should be able to see these children like his. How can the boss actually send the children to study at that age and expect the same outcome?
Because the boss
that is why I want to say,
Mr. Leo,
you are seeing them as learners, but the boss is seeing customers.
He sees them as customers.
That's why I said from where.
That is why he was saying there should be pedagogues among those.
That's it. So it boils down to the system.
It boils down to the system, and I want to say it very clear, Mr. Leo. You are a journalist. You became a journalist through education. A doctor became a doctor.
That's regulating a sector.
Yes. So all those things, it begins from education, and I believe that as much as a doctor is well paid, that is how a teacher is supposed to be paid. A doctor can cure a child for a single day, but a teacher, a great teacher for that matter, can live in a pupils for his whole life. So I believe that we still remember them till today. So I believe that the teacher should really be looked upon in a special way, and the system itself will change. They have to begin from there. And I don't even see the difference we are making between a secondary school teacher and a primary school teacher. All them boys to one, because that is where the base is. If we fail at the level of the primary, at the level of the secondary, it will be catastrophic. And it happens.
The university teachers even have more. They lay emphasis forgetting about you are the best.
You are in an office, Mr. Leo. A graduate from the university comes and gives you an application for a job. When you read, it is terrible.
Because at the foundation,
it is terrible.
They may not taught some things.
Okay,
it is terrible.
That is from the government. What should also the parents and the community do to turn the tide?
I think the parents and the community have a very big role to play in the life of the children, giving them, teaching them values, societal values that will help, that teachers will continue in school. There are some values that the community need to teach the learners or their children, so that the school should continue from there. For instance, honesty, respect, integrity. All these values should be embedded in the children by the society.
When I was in charge of discipline in a primary school, I stood at the gate every morning. When I was in charge of discipline in a primary school, I stood at the gate every morning. For me, the first thing parents need to do is to teach their children to take responsibility. Because nowadays, the parents take the responsibility of the children and give to the nannies, to the teachers, to the drivers. It's not uncommon to see a nursery, 2 kids say, my driver is there. Your driver? When I was at the gate, it's not your driver. I tell them, please drop the bag. Let that child take the bag from nursery. I tell them that's the only thing that belongs to you. That's the only thing that nobody can take away from you, your education. So take that bag, it's your bag. And all the drivers knew that when you met Mrs. Nzokwe at the gate, you don't carry the bag. So if parents can teach the children to take responsibility, A parent will be complaining that a child cannot write in school. Then you see the same parent feeding the child. Don't you know spooning is penning? I tell them all the time. If a child cannot hold a spoon, they can't hold a pen. So
For sure.
So inside respect and everything, responsibility is the first thing. They should be responsible for their actions. If they learn how to be responsible for their actions, for their behavior, for their things, then they grow up to be responsible citizens. It is not uncommon to find irresponsible adults today, because if you look back, we who are above 50, you will find a few of us still hanging there. But those who are between 30 and 40, they all pass through this system where parents took responsibility for them. You go to a hospital, a doctor is consulting you, and they are with their phone. They are playing, how do they call this? Their game, whatever. What a Zoom or whatever. I don't know those things. My children tell me all the time I'm wasting my phone, because for them the phone has a lot more than calling. For me, the phone is to communicate. If I have any important thing, is to check the WhatsApp groups I am in, what message do I have. It's a working tool, but for them it's a game. It's a center for recreation. So you go to a hospital, you see a pretty doctor, she's about 21, she has her phone, she's consulting. And we, madam, what madam is what you have? Madam, where's you? So what you get? That you don't even feel safe in the hands of such a doctor. So responsibility for me is the first thing that parents need to put in the kids. And community as a whole, we should know when to demand responsible behavior from children. When we were growing up, you were not told to stand up and give your seat to an elderly person when they walk into a room.
It was automatic.
It was automatic. You will not see an old mommy carrying firewood on her head and then you pass. It was automatic, because we were taught responsible behavior. We were taught to be responsible. And we knew that those things, that's why I come back to our cultural ethics and values. We knew that these things carry some blessings. We knew that if an old mother said to you, "Thank you, my pikin," it meant so much in your destiny. But today, all those things have been turned around and they are put around money. A child knows that my father can buy whatever thing I want. So what do you tell me? So those are also teaching maybe these big schools. Some of them go as far as analyzing a teacher to tell you that please that your shoe. You know that they sell it. I had it. My father said that I will get it. So they are able to analyze you, because the whole system. What do you tell them? Our teachers used to tell us, if you don't go to school, if you don't learn, you'll be useless. What do you tell them today when they see many degree holders useless around them? What do you tell them? So, Mr. Leo, we should teach responsibility, responsible behavior to our learners. That's what I think.
Okay, thank you. I don't know whether there's one last proposal.
On my part, I will just take the cultural part that she's mentioning as a Pan-Africanist. I think that the things some of us lived through because of that cultural background is what we have deviated. It's a whole damage that we have gone through. Children are in town, they no longer speak the dialect. The parenting is like what they call a jest. We're speaking about the English language to a child. So that part is already damaged. It's already gone. And you can imagine the next generation that is coming. That's how our dialects disappear automatically. Because, Mr. Leo, I want to let you know that that is before the coming of the white man. African culture had that respect and value. I mean, embedded from the word from. That's from creation. It's just now that at a point in time, we were getting brainwashed along the line to think that no, that particular culture that is foreign appears to be no. But that's a culture that is telling about human rights. That's a culture that tells you that no, don't beat a child. That's why in America, a child can get to one, they take a gun and he shoots a parent. And case goes to nowhere. But you will not find that in the typical African setup. Because just like Ma is saying here, you just know that even just by responding to an elder, whether it's your mother or not, it's already a taboo. You are very, very much aware of that. And so you took your time. But today, you could be the child, tomorrow the child abuses you. Are you my mother? Are you my father? And so the case goes to nowhere. So I think that we need to get back to that, which means that those who run cultural organizations, the branches are everywhere in the urban areas, in Douala and all the like. You should start revamping. Agam Cultural and Development Association, Isu Cultural Development Association, which one, Mekuda, Mankon and all the like. We should start bringing those cultural values. Bring the children to those meetings, because we parents are causing that. You come to a meeting and the children are at home playing games on their phones. What do you expect? You are revived, but the children are not revived. Tomorrow when they go wayward, you start saying, "What kind of balloon me I get them?" But if you are going to this traditional meeting houses once per month with these children, they learn how they greet, they learn how they speak the dialect, they learn the traditional meal and all the like. Before you know it, we'll come back to those our old days because modernity has made things easier. Only with your phone, traditional music can be there. Only with your phone, you can learn how to speak the dialect. There are WhatsApp for other people speak with the dialect inside. So we should use this now, this innovation of technology, to instead come back to our old system, maintain it, and then infiltrate it into education. Before we know it, we'll have revised edition of new breeds of generation. If not, we are heading towards the doom.
Okay, want to thank you all for accepting our invitation to look into this very important topic, especially as we prepare for back to school for the 2024-2025 academic year. Thank you, Madam Telelen, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. It's a pleasure always to be here and just to share my experiences, especially in education.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, one last word from me. So what I'll conclude is education is not business. Mr. Proprietor, Miss Proprietress, the government, let us sit up and review the purpose, the objectives, and the goals of education. Because these children we have today in the classrooms are the ones who will be there in our old age. What do we expect from them? I don't want to see myself being abandoned in an old people's home because the children were never taught the value of respect, respecting their parents, respecting the adults. That's my take. We need to review the objectives of education.
Okay, we need to review the objectives of the education, but the proprietors, they need to be more sincere when they say they want to mold young Cameroonians and not necessarily to make business. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Leo. And the only word I can give to proprietors is that just don't be too business inclined, you know. Mbunya and Bamenda, many of them have added their school fees this year. You see how these guys are behaving? They have now realized that parents' education is the only thing that parents cannot do without. That's a parent can prefer not to eat, but to pay the school fees of a child. I said now as I'm talking, Mbunya, the ones in Mbunya, particularly Antiko, they've added their school fees as I'm talking to you now.
But the government should look
I think that,
especially given the prevailing.
No, but they should follow be humane. Yeah. Because when you're adding, the first time.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That the poverty level is higher.
It's higher. Yeah, and then while doing that, I just plead on the government's principles. I know they know I've keep fighting against PTA. They are planning again to increase their PTA again. You have a school that has all the infrastructures. Teachers have been deployed from war-torn areas. They've added it to their school. They have more than enough teachers, and they are still adding PTA fee. Nobody controls it. The delegates are aware. Regional delegates are aware. The whole mafia continues. Parents are suffering truly this come around.
Mr. Neba Alexander, head teacher, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. It's really a pleasure. It was a nice experience. The only thing I have to say goes to my fellow colleagues as teachers, that we need to valorize ourselves. That is, we should be able to know that what we are giving out for the nation. We are nation builders, and we should be able to do it with our sincere mind. And despite the hardship we are going through, we should not expose ourselves by being beggars or making people to believe that we cannot survive. We should go in for it, and when the time comes, I believe these children, they will pay us back in one way or the other.
Okay, Madam Bewamba, coming all the way from Mbanga. We're glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leo. It was an honor to be here today with you. To my dear fellow colleagues, I want to give you courage this evening. Take courage as you are going to the field in the few weeks to come. Know that you are not beggars. You are mind molders. You are enablers of other professions. Do your work with all your might. Put in the work with intentionality. Have a purpose for what you are doing. And for the proprietors, treat teachers with care. Valorize your teachers. If you valorize your teachers, they will give you the best output you deserve. For the government, try to carry out an evaluation. When you send teachers to the field, or when you give authorization to school, make sure you go to the field to see what they are doing. Make sure the resources are there,
that teachers and the children can use in order to carry out effective learning. Thank you.
Okay, we want to thank you all for watching this first edition of Prime Hour for this week. We also want to thank you, Desmond and Eli, for production, Tabi, Tambe Bryant for supervision. It's been Prime Hour on My Media Prime TV. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.